We are on day 6 of the Day of Unleavened Bread. In fact, in approximately 15 minutes, we're going to be on day 7, 1 day left. So the feast has gone very, very quickly. We've done PowerPoint today, which is not my normal thing. Do you have the controller? Good, okay. My wife is controlling the PowerPoint. If you have any problems, please send her an email. I'll give you her personal email in just a few minutes. We have handouts given out to everyone here. I'm sorry that not everyone on the outreach program has that, but the outreach program will have PowerPoint because Elder Hector has developed last week the ability to split screen. So there'll actually be a chat room. You'll see the speaker down in the center section, and then you'll actually see the PowerPoint. All right, we're going to cover a lot about the wave sheaf. We're not going to do a wave sheaf service, but we're going to talk about the wave sheaf. And what I'd like to preface this with is that this day that ends in approximately 12 minutes, so we really have to enjoy it fast, all right, is one of the most important days right along Yeshua's death and resurrection, which most of the assemblies do not observe, they do not teach, they do not discuss, and they do not go into. Just briefly saying this, when Yeshua rose from the dead late on Sabbath afternoon, he went to the Father the next day. We'll talk about that, when that happens, and how it happened, and how we fit into that wave sheaf. If the Father had not accepted his work, his atonement, his justification, his ministry, and his lifestyle as being a sinless lamb, without spot, without wrinkle, if the Father hadn't accepted that today, we would still be in the same boat we were 2,000 years ago or 2,100 years ago. The Father had to receive all that work and sanctification for us, which he did on this day. So this day is critical. It's critical. What if the Father did not receive it? Of course, that's impossible. We're going to talk about 7 different major categories of information, all dealing with the wave sheaf and all dealing with Yeshua and how we fit into the wave sheaf and Yeshua's life and calling and plan of salvation. You don't have this on your handout. The handout that I gave you actually is a summary sheet, not of what I'm talking about, but actually it's entitled, Bill? Yeah. What's the title? Holy Day Feast Facts. And there's 10 statements, key facts. Holy Day key facts, statements. Anyway, there's 10 statements on there that we will read at the end of the program that are very, very important. There have been some questions in this group and on the outreach program about the holy days, how they're kept. For example, the first day, the day of Abib 14, the Passover day now, Abib 14, some people are teaching that's a holy day. That's a Sabbaton. And it's not, it's a preparation day. So this is one of the statements and things we'll go through. Okay, we're going to cover 7 areas. Now, for those who are Bible students and are taking notes, I'm going to give you what those 7 things are. I'm going to give you lots of laundry lists today. Carla, you ready? Okay. Number 1, we're going to cover the wave sheaf command in Leviticus 23. Number 2, we're going to cover how the first fruits started. Where did this concept of first fruit offerings start? Why did it start, and how did it relate and come through the years and the way Yeshua changed this to come to Messiah and come to us? Because you know we are called first fruits. Number 3, we're going to look at the renewed covenant first fruits and how that was changed and how it pertains, how it finally got to us. Number 4, appointed times for the first fruits. There are 3 appointed times for first fruits, and they're just for first fruits. They're not really for visitors. They're not really for anybody else. They're set apart Kodesh times for the very elect that are being called and worked with. Number 5, we're going to go through Yeshua's death week. Beverly did an outstanding job of putting together an actual PowerPoint presentation of the week Yeshua died, showing when he suffered, went into the grave, when he came out 3 days, 3 nights, and the wave sheaf. We put that all together in a PowerPoint for you. We will look at the week that we just went through here in 2011. The week that we went through. It's not the same week. The reason we threw that in is when we're going to count the wave sheaf, identify the wave sheaf, and we're going to count to Shavuot Pentecost. I'm going to use a dirty word there, Delwyn. Okay, he's got his back to me. Okay. To count, we're going to look at this week and hand calendars around so that we can actually count and get used to doing this, because we're supposed to understand the calendar and find the holy days. We're not supposed to say, well, elder, you just tell us, and whatever you tell us, that'll be fine. We're supposed to study this and understand it. So we're going to go through this week, what this week looks like. And then, of course, find the count to Shavuot. We're going to cover New Testament holy days, and there's a lot of information that is written today, not only on the internet, but in booklets. Rocheport, for example, and I believe here, there are several booklets and things that Hector has here at SAY. There's booklets on holy days. And the important point about this is that what they mean. It isn't enough to know when they are or what they are. How do they pertain to us? Because the holy days are the plan of salvation. It tells you everything. Okay? There's another good booklet by, I believe this is also Rocheport. He arose, but when? Now, most people believe accurately that Yeshua went into the grave, died on Abib 14 on Wednesday. If you do the study on that, you're going to find out it was Wednesday. But you know, there's some Yahwists that believe that it was Thursday or even Friday. It can't all be true. There's only one truth. There's some good studies out there. Okay. We're going to cover first fruits, the death week of Yeshua, and how to count Pentecost. The wave sheaf day, that's today, for another 8 minutes. Let's go to Leviticus 23, 9 through 11. You're going to have to move your tortillas around. Leviticus 23, 9 through 11. This is commanded to us. And I'm going to use the expression, as I said the other day, and coined from Bill that coined this, Yahweh Shua. Yahweh Shua spoke unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye come into the land which I give you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then ye shall bring a sheaf of the firstfruits of your harvest. That's of the harvest. It's not talking about people. Unto the priest, and he will wave it. This firstfruits all the way back in Leviticus, in this wave sheaf, which is talking about barley, is talking about the picture of Yeshua being waved. It relates to Yeshua. All the prophecies, all the agricultural metaphors, all the animal sacrifices, all focus toward Yeshua. All of it. Verse 11. And he shall wave the sheaf before Yahweh to be accepted for you. On the morrow, underline this in your scriptures, if you have a tendency to do that. On the morrow after the Shabbat, the priest shall wave it. Not Sabbaton. Remember, we taught that earlier in the feast. The weekly Sabbath is Shabbat, and I think Mike said it was 67, 77. But the Sabbaton, the first day of unleavened bread, and the last day, Sabbaton, an annual holy day, is a different kind of Sabbath, and that is 76, 77.
Shabbat, weekly Shabbat is 76, 76. Yeah. The next number numerically, 76, 77, is Shabbaton. That's right.
Right. All right, regular Sabbath is 76, 76, and Sabbaton, the annual holy days, which is 7 days, Bill, are 76, 77. I got it. So this is a very, very important day. This day, the Father Yahweh put his seal on the work and redemption and reconciliation of his Son for us. So this is Yeshua's day, the epitome of Yeshua's work that was given for us. We were set free today because we were accepted. We were accepted. We were reconciled. We're on slide number 1. Going to slide 2. Let's talk about when these offerings started and what the beginning of first fruits was, because first fruits is a term that is the best of the best of the best of the first of your offerings, the first of your grain, the first of animals, everything else. And that relates to grain, and then it relates in pictures Yeshua coming. He is the first fruits of the ones raised from the dead, and then us. And this first fruit concept is very, very important, because this first fruit concept, Jan, relates to the elect, the called out ones, the bride. We're going to use, at the end of this, we're going to list all the expressions that are used in the scriptures that all apply to first fruits. All the same category, and that's us, those who are in Messiah. Starting at first fruits, let's go to Exodus 23:16. Exodus 23:16. And the feast of harvest, the first fruits of thy labors, which thou hast sown in the field, we used to be agricultural, not so much anymore, and the feast of ingathering, which is in the end of the year, when thou hast gathered in thy labors out of the field. So, you have first fruits of the harvest and your labors sown in the field, and the feast of ingathering. What feast is that? Tabernacles. Sukkot. All right? There are actually, and I'll go into this in a few minutes, there are actually 3 harvests in a year. 3 harvests in a year. First to Yahweh. First to be given, the best of the best. The firstborn. First, when he started this concept of first fruits, he said, all that open the matrix first, the firstborn, belong unto me. That was the first of the very beginnings of this concept of I want the best of your offerings, the first of your offerings. He started with the firstborn, first to open the matrix, they had to be redeemed. Then he said that the Levites then now are my firstborn. He claimed the Levites. He went to the Levites. Notice that the Levites, I know it's elementary, but we're going to make a point here, the Levites were priests. Okay? Keep that in mind, not just Levites, priests. And then it went to us. It went to us. So in Numbers 3:12, we read, Numbers 3:12, and I beheld and have taken the Levites from among the children of Israel instead of the firstborn that openeth the matrix among the children of Israel. Therefore the Levites shall be mine. Remember the Levites, they had special privileges, they had special duties, they lived in special places because they were set apart. They were set apart. Let's go to the next slide. Let's go to renewed covenant. Now here's something that we don't talk about very much as far as the operation of the Spirit of Yahweh. But there is actually a Spirit of Yahweh which is called the first fruits of the Spirit. Okay? Romans 8:23. Romans 8:23. And Romans 8 is a very spiritual chapter. Those who walk after the Spirit, they are the children of Yahweh, it says. There are many, many beautiful and golden things here in this chapter. In verse 23, it says, not only they, making reference to Old Testament and other people, not only they, but ourselves also, which have the first fruits of the Spirit, even we ourselves groan with each other, waiting for the adoption, that is, redemption of the body. What is that? What is the redemption of the body? What are we talking about? Resurrection. The first resurrection. Those in Messiah, it says in 1 Corinthians 15, 52, 53, 54. All right? So we have after we have repented, learned Torah, understood what our commitment is to the covenants, Yahweh and Yeshua, we have been immersed in the name of Yeshua for remission of sins. Isn't it true? Okay, now we're betrothed. Then, at this time, this year, some new people have come in, and they have kept the Passover for the first time along with us who have kept it for years. The Passover, now, the emblems, is covenant. We're making covenant. So now we are fully betrothed and become firstfruits unto Yahweh by Messiah. Very important. That is the plan of salvation. Now we have become firstfruits, but it says here that Messiah is the first of the firstfruits of those raised from the dead. So we go to 1 Corinthians 15:20 through 23. 1 Corinthians 15:20 through 23. But now is Messiah risen from the dead, and become the firstfruits of them that slept. For since by man came death, by man came also the resurrection of the dead. For as in Adam all die, even so the Messiah shall all be made alive. But every man in his own order, and this is a truism, a Yahweh truism. Every man in his own order. Messiah, firstfruits, afterward they which are the Messiahs at his coming. So we have Messiah raised from the dead. He was waived. He was accepted as the atonement. And now we have that opportunity to be in that first resurrection, which is Paul called the better resurrection, because it is the ones for firstfruits who will be leaders, priests, kings, magistrates, and leading the kingdom with Yeshua and the apostles. It's a leadership calling. And normally we don't really talk about this very much, and we don't tell people very much about this usually on the outside, do we? Because it sounds very exclusive. It sounds exclusive. Not because we are better, or we're more righteous, or we have a special anointing. Out of his grace, out of his mercy, he called us. We don't know why. And we're being tried, we're being proven, we're being trained, we're being evaluated, that if we stand firm in the faith and hold and do not stumble, we are going to be in that first resurrection, whether we're alive or whether we sleep. It says that we which are alive shall not prevent them which sleep. We're all going to be raised at the same time. Only the firstfruits, not the rest of the dead, which is a whole other study. Let's go to the next slide. In Jacob, Delwyn, Jacob, okay, he's happy now. 1:18. Jacob 1:18 says, of his own will beget he us with the word of truth. See, we're sanctified by the word of truth. We're set apart by the word of truth. We're instructed by the word of truth. Without the word of truth, we have nothing. The word of truth is Yeshua and what he said. We have to have both him, believe who he is, believe what he did, and believe what he said. We have to have those two things, who he is and what he said, or we have nothing. He is the word of truth, that we should be a kind of firstfruits of his creatures. Revelation, you can find this all the way back in Revelations, going to Revelations 14:4. Revelations 14:4. These are they which were not defiled with women, that means pagan worship, for they were virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb whereversoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men of the earth. We are redeemed from among men, being the firstfruits unto Elohim and unto the Lamb. So you have firstfruit concept all the way back in Leviticus and Exodus, all the way back and all the way forward, all the way through to Revelations. The firstfruit concepts is the very core knowledge and pattern of where we are and what our calling is. We need to understand this. Now, as I said about 12 minutes ago, first fruits also is akin to other expressions, other titles, other labels that are given in the Scriptures. For example, there's been studies to find out, well, what's the difference between the first fruits and the elect, or the first fruits and the body of Messiah that we heard James talk about. Are you with us, James? Okay. They're all the same. It's all the same category. You might want to write these down if you're not familiar with them. First fruits is the same as the elect, the called out ones, or ecclesia is the Greek. Priests and kings. And Peter, called as priests and kings. The body of Messiah, the saved, the firstborn. The redeemed, the bride. Those in the first resurrection at his coming. All the same. All the same categories. Isn't it interesting? I did make a note of this, but I didn't explain it and come back to this. Isn't it interesting that Yeshua is a priest and a king? Says that. Are you the king of the Jews? For this purpose, for this reason I was born, he said. Okay? And he is the first of the first fruits. And now we also are called as a nation of priests and kings, and we will be first fruits. You see the parallel there. Isn't that interesting? There is an appointed time for first fruits. Slide 5, next slide. Are these slides working? Oh, all right. There are appointed times for first fruits. Shavuot, we have unleavened bread, we have Shavuot, and then we have tabernacles. Shavuot or Pentecost. Now, remember that almost everything in the salvation plan is related to agricultural because they were farmers mostly. Where is John? Where is John? John's smiling now. We're into his category. Agricultural. They were Aggies. He's being punished. We have three major callings in the plan of salvation, and it's all in 1 year. It works out for 6,000 years, but we can see the pattern in the holy days of 1 year's cycle of holy days. All right. Yeshua being first fruits, and of course he was waved, the wave sheaf. What did they wave? What is the first agricultural grain? Barley. The barley waving, the barley is representing Yeshua. The first of the first of the first of the best of the best of the best. Approximately 7 or 8 weeks later, and we'll talk about that count in a minute, you have another. That's where you're getting the answers, right, Bill? That's why you guys are so smart. You're looking at the PowerPoint. I didn't get it. All right, the second one is the wheat. Winter wheat. And that's us. That represents us at Pentecost. And then you have the corn, which is late in the year, one of the last harvests, which is the greatest of all the harvests. Now, in Revelations 7:9, John is talking to a messenger. It's not Yeshua. And the messenger says to him, "What is this great multitude that cannot be numbered?" And John says, "You know, sir." And he says, "These are they that came out of the great tribulation and washed their robes in the blood of the Lamb." That's end time stuff. There's going to be a great multitude that comes in that can't even be numbered. And we're going to have part in that work. We have the message, we have the light, we have the testimony, we have the Torah, we have the faith. So in the year, one cycle of a year of holy days, which represents 6,000 years, you have three callings of people. But none of the callings are like first fruits. When it says they are the best, the best, the best, they are the elect, the firstborn, not defiled. We are ones that are being called with a very special purpose. It's a great honor beyond our understanding. Paul said the ear has not heard, The eye has not seen, neither has it entered into the hearts of men, the things which Yahweh has prepared for those who love him. And that's what he's talking about, first fruits. Christina, that's not on the slide. Yes, Jan, just let's get a microphone.
We're a lot like, the first fruits are a lot like the Levitical priesthood. Are the first animals that were sacrificed without spot or wrinkle or blemish. We're a lot like that Levitical priesthood. We're set aside for a holy special purpose.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
what keeps coming.
Bill?
Mike, a little while ago when you were talking about the Greek word ecclesia, called out ones, as many times as I've thought about that word and used it, it's got the Father's name at the end, the sound, even though it's a
Ecclesia.
Greek word.
Ecclesia.
The called out ones of Yah.
Yeah.
I just had to throw that out there because I couldn't hold it in anymore.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, hallelujah.
Ecclesia.
Excellent. Yeah, it's all
Now
connected.
That's Yahweh's doing there. And it's to be marveled at. That's all I can say.
Hallelujah. Thank you, Bill. Jan? Okay. We're going to go to... I don't believe that. All right, let's go to the next slide. Moving right along. Okay. This is, let me have the pointer. This is Yeshua's death week. This is the week that Yeshua died. And I'm going to be turning sideways to the camera to talk about this. The people on the outreach have this on their screen. This involves approximately 5 major studies that would take you months to complete. This information right here. This is a big deal. Really. All right? Yeshua died. Okay? Yeshua died, and this is a study also. In fact, the study was actually given here, I think, last year, but it wasn't telecast. He died on Wednesday. You can prove that he died on Wednesday by the study of Passover, preparation day, then there was a Sabbath, then there was a preparation day, then there was a weekly Sabbath. You can do all that study and find out, and also it says in Daniel he was cut off in the middle of the week. Okay? All right, died on Wednesday, and he used a calendar. You got to do the study. He used a calendar. And you find out that where Abib 14 was, and that Passover was actually his day, Passover, his death day, was the 25th of April, 31 AD. That's a very, very in-depth, difficult study. But I'm just going to throw that date out for you to look at that some other time. He was on the stake from the morning of approximately 9 o'clock until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 1 hour for every 1,000 years. 1 hour of suffering for every 1,000 years. Did his blood count for a lot? Michael?
Can I just say something? More correctly, it would have been the 4th day, not Wednesday, because it wasn't called Wednesday. It would have been the 4th day. He
Yes.
died on the 4th day.
That's right.
Okay.
That's great.
Okay.
4th day. Okay. That's true. Some people don't know what the 4th day is, but it is the 4th day. All right. He took the Passover on Tuesday night, just after sunset, like we did here, but it wasn't a Tuesday. All right? It was Sunday night. We'll look at our week later. This is Yeshua's death week in 31 AD. He waited till after sunset, which is called Ben Ha'ar Bayim. If you look in Exodus 12, when it says, you will kill a lamb in the evening, all of Israel will kill a lamb in the evening, Exodus 12, that word is not evening and it's not sunset. It's between the evenings, and it's Ben Ha'arbaim, which means sunset, the difference, the time between sunset and actual dark, all right, which is called, I believe, Lael, which is actual dark night. All right. So then he was taken at 12 o'clock midnight approximately. The death angel come in the way of a crowd, and he was taken, put in through a kangaroo court and condemned. And the next day, which we see is the fourth day, which is actually Abib, the full day of the Wednesday, he was put on the stake at 9 o'clock in the morning, right there. You'll see here, if we run an arrow, I don't have a pointer. Do we have pointers? No, that doesn't work. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, because before we get on to much further, I believe I understood that the killing of the lamb, meaning between the evenings, was between noon and sundown, which would be about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, halfway, let's say. Ben Howard Abim. The reason those are the 2 evenings is when the sun reaches its apex, its highest point at noon, then after that, it is on its way to
Down.
darkness.
It's on the way down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, it's starting on the way down. And so that's the first evening. The second evening is at sundown, between sundown and dark. So did you just say that the Passover, when did you say that the Passover was killed?
The domestic Passover was killed after sunset.
Oh,
Between
well,
sunset and midnight, the blood had to be on, in Egypt, had to be on the lentils. Let's go on from here. That's another study. I will say that.
I know it's a study.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is if my understanding was not correct, I want to know about it, and I imagine anybody else would like to too.
When you do a study on this, and this is a major study too, and I'm glad you brought it up, and no offense, the Pharisees changed the meaning of between the evenings. They changed that.
Oh, then
They changed that.
So
Okay,
the
that is
study-
not the accurate interpretation of when to kill the lamb. Now, there is another study. John Truscott, before he died, an ex-minister of Worldwide, has a booklet. We have the booklet called the Morning and Evening Sacrifices. We have a study on this, and he showed how the past regular sacrifices were changed, the timing of the regular sacrifices by the Pharisees, and he shows how the Passover and the killing of the lambs was changed by the Pharisees. Remember, you have to remember this. If you do a study in the Brit, they changed everything. They changed everything. Delwyn's going, yeah, they changed everything. There isn't one thing you can bring up has to do with Passover and unleavened bread. They didn't change. Well, can we?
I guess I want to know between the evenings. What are the two?
Yeah, we need to do.
What are the 2 evenings you're talking about?
Ben Ha'arbaim, killing of the lamb,
What are the
is between sunset, when the ball is out of sight.
It says up there, it says, look, it says the
Yeah.
13th going into the 14th.
I know what it says there.
It's between the evenings is between sunset, when you cannot see the top of the ball, and actual full dark when you see stars, first see stars. That's between the evening.
3 in the afternoon.
No,
Okay.
absolutely not.
It's not.
Another study. Are we okay? All right. Stone him. All right.
Well, if I was deceived by this.
Well, it's studies. We're all coming into the knowledge of truth. I mean, there's people that are hearing my voice that don't agree with some things that I'm saying, and it's just, I say, keep studying. Keep looking at it. All right?
I'm not into agreeing or not.
Okay.
I'll find out.
All right. Yeshua said, somebody quoted this to me the other day, they asked for a sign. Give us a sign. And he said, I'm not going to give you a sign. It's an evil and adulterous generation that asks for a sign. I'll give you no sign but the sign of Jonah. As Jonah was in the belly of the whale 3 days and 3 nights. That is a Hebrewism. When you say, like Paul said, I was in the sea a day and a night, it means all the day portion and all the night portion. It means a 24-hour period. So when he said, I'll be in the grave, destroy this temple in 3 days, I will raise it up, he meant 72 hours. Well, here we have from the afternoon, late on the afternoon on the 4th day. Is Michael here? He left.
No, he's not.
He's- all right. From the 4th day, Wednesday, until late Sabbath, we have the 72 hours. Notice it's not day, night, because he went in the evening, just before sunset. He had to have him off the stake before the high day. All right? So he goes in right here, then sun sets, he's in here, he rests on the Sabbath, and he raises late on Sabbath afternoon. He rested on the Sabbath. He's master of the Sabbath. Okay. He arose prior to sunset. I think we've covered almost everything on this. Now, the next day, if you read the 2 to 3 witnesses that are in the evangels, it says the women came to the grave and he was gone. It doesn't say they saw him raise. He was already gone. He was already gone. And he appeared to Mary Magdalene, and he said, do not touch me, for I have not ascended unto my Father and your Father, my Elohim and your Elohim. Why not? Because he had to be waived. He had to go to the Father, present himself and his work to be acknowledged, received, and recognized. Then he came back and he witnessed 40 days, didn't he? 40 days. And then he said unto them, because we're going to link this to Shavuot, stay in Jerusalem until the promise of the Father comes and you are imbued with power. And they had to wait another 10 days, the 50 days, which we'll look at in just a minute. All right. So, where's the Wave Sheaf Day? It's the 6th day, isn't it? Right here. The Wave Sheaf is always on the 6th day. The day after, yes, the day after the Sabbath. First day. Michael did a job on me. First day. Okay. Next slide. Any questions on this slide before Beverly pushes the button? Any questions on that? This is pretty basic for the people who have been in this a while. All right, next one. Let's look at this week. Okay. This week is entirely different. Why do we put this up? Because maybe 1 out of 6 or 7 years, you're actually going to have the cycle on the Tuesday, on the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday that Yeshua had. You're not going to see the death week. You're going to have another cycle of days like we have this year. So we look at it for this year, 2011. Passover is on the first day of the week late. Ben Ha'ar Baim Bill. Okay. Abib 14, the full day. You went after sunset, so now you're in the full day of Monday, or second day of the week, Abib 14. And then we count the days of unleavened bread. Is this day right here a holy day? No, it's a preparation day. It says that in the scriptures. Another study. Right? Then you start the first day of unleavens. Now there is a teaching, you've got to study it out, you have to prove it, that this day is one of the days of unleavened because you took unleavened bread. So it's one of the unleavened dead days. You do that, how many days do you have of unleavens? 8 days. Scripture says, Leviticus 23, 7 days of unleavened bread. So now you have things that are breaking the scripture. Besides that, we take unleavened bread with the Passover, and it's unleavened bread, but it's not of the unleavens because it represents something entirely different. It represents his body. This unleavened bread, as I spoke about earlier and some other people made reference to on other presentations, this unleavened bread represents something else. It represents new life without sin, basically, and the Word. First, second, third, fourth, fifth. We're in the sixth day, more or less, of unleavens. It says in Leviticus 23 that you count. Here's our wave sheaf today. We had Sabbath yesterday. We have this day today. This is the first day of the week. So this is Leviticus 23, 15, and 16. Why don't you go there? This is a special day that Yeshua was waived on this day, and we're commanded to do a wave offering. And even significant to that, to start the count. How do we count Pentecost? There's two ways to do this wrong, and there's one way to do this right. Okay, you got a 66 2/3% chance of getting this wrong. Leviticus 23:15, and ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath. This is talking about finding Shavuot, Pentecost, because that's the next holy day, appointed time we're looking for, which is particularly important to who? Us. Not the world, and not even the great multitude yet, but us now. Why did he say this? The morrow after the Sabbath. You know and I know we're going to count how many Sabbaths? 7. All right? Did you ever lose your way? Men don't get lost. They just get disoriented. And the wife is saying, why don't you stop and ask somebody? Why don't you stop and ask somebody? Well, you finally stop. It's never happened, right, Joanne? You finally stop and you ask someone, and you're at a quick shop. You're in town, so you look down the street and there's 25 stoplights. You can see them spread out right in a row, right? And you're at a stoplight. And the person, I'm not going to say male or female, the person says, go up 5 lights and turn left. And you get in your car and you realize you don't have the directions. Did she count or did he count this light right here? Did they count this light or not? I don't know because they didn't tell me the name of the street. Now I'm not any closer to my destination. And you will not find Shavuot unless you do this right. And you will be breaking a Sabbath, a Sabbaton. Notice how he places the words, how perfect Yahweh's ways are in all things. He says, count from the day after the Sabbath, which is the wave sheaf day, so you can't confuse it. You can't misunderstand that. Now, Hector, in his wisdom, declared unto us, as we said 40 minutes ago, there's a difference between the weekly Sabbath, Shabbat, and Sabbaton, an annual appointed time. So someone says to you, how do you know that this in Leviticus 23:15 is a weekly Sabbath? Because when you look it up and look at the number, you find out what it is. That is critically important. How many Sabbaths are in here? How many Sabbaths are in this week? No, there's 3. There's 3 Sabbaths in that week, the first day, the last day, and the weekly Sabbath. So which Sabbath do you take? There's only one Shabbat in the week. Yes, but some people take other ones. I'll talk about that. I'll give you the microphone in a minute. Whoa.
There's one Shabbat,
All right.
and there's 2 Shabbatons.
That's right. Okay, Leviticus 23:15. And ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath. You could have said wave sheaf day. From the day that you brought the wave sheaf offering, 7 Sabbaths complete. That's not as easy as what it sounds. Verse 16. Can I have a glass of water? Even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath, after you've counted 7, the morrow after the 7th Sabbath should be number 50 days. And ye shall offer a new meal offering unto Yahweh. That day is Shavuot. And that day, the day after the Sabbath, after the 7th Sabbath, the morrow after is always a what? First day. Always. always, always, that's on your fact sheet. How can you mess this up?
You have to want to. You have to want to believe a lie.
Okay, there are assemblies, there are people that will come up with a floating Pentecost. How do they do that? How many know how to get a floating Pentecost? Here's how you do it. There's nothing up my sleeves. All right? My hands are clean. Remember, no, never mind. All right. You've got 3 Sabbaths here. If you take the first day of unleavened bread, that's Sabbath, and you count 7 Sabbaths, you're going to count this Sabbath, right? And you're going to take the next day, right? But you're going to come out with the wrong count. 1 week over. 1 week over. All right? So another way you can get this wrong, it says count 50. Count 50 days. Let me ask you a question. This is a trick question, Joanne. I know who you are. That was quick. If you count, it says count 50 days, doesn't it? Not really. It says 50 days. It doesn't say count 50 days. It says count 7 Sabbaths. 50 days complete. If you take this Sabbath, the right Sabbath, the weekly Sabbath, and you count 50 days, you're going to find the right count? No. No, because you didn't count the 7 Sabbaths. Some people do that. 50 days. I'm a number person. I like 50. I majored in math. Right here, the guy that's talking without the microphone. I majored in math. I can count 50 from the proper Sabbath, the weekly Sabbath, and it'll be wrong.
From the day following.
And it will be a day that is not a first day. And so this is why some assemblies have a Pentecost on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. And it is always the day after the Sabbath, which is always first day. And they violate a clear, concrete, printed instruction. We've even gone back to the death week of Yeshua and proved it out by the death week. We actually had a week that we went to Holy Days, the week that was just a reproduction of Yeshua's death week, and proved it to him. And he said, no, well, this is how we do it. This is our tradition here. This is what we do. Hey. All right. Even the morrow after the 7th Sabbath. All right, so we passed out calendars. There's 3 calendars that are passed out here. You can look at them. Carla has one. And, of course, Katie's got the other one. And you can go from this Sabbath, yesterday, which was the 23rd, and you don't count that Sabbath. You start with today and count the next Sabbath, which is what? What's the date of the next Sabbath? Should be the 30th? 30th, is that right? The 30th of April, is that right? Is there a 30th April Sabbath? Okay, that's count 1. All right, somebody count the numbers out. What's the next one? 7th of May, 14, 21, 28, 28 of May, and we're turning the pages. This is a slow group. And what? 4th of June. That's probably, I think, number 6. And then the 7th one is what? What is the 7th date? 7th, the 11th. The 11th, real time, to everyone we're speaking on the internet, the 11th of May is June, is the 7th count, the 7th Sabbath. So if that's the 11th, it's the day after Sabbath, when's Shavuot? The 12th. The 12th of June. And it's on a first day. As believers, as teachers, as a nation of priests and kings, we're supposed to be able to teach this to anybody who asks us. and it should be just automatic. We're supposed to know this. That's our calling. It isn't just for salvation or because we're supposed to study Torah for Torah's sake, because we're supposed to be able to be a light to the nations. Right? Shavuot. Any questions on this diagram here?
I think there's a microphone.
Eric?
Just for clarity's sake, because I have discussions with people who do that floating Sabbath, and I don't know, but I in my research there isn't. But if in your research, is there any other way that the morrow after the seventh Sabbath could be any day except the first day of the week? And for me, it's quite clear. The morrow after the seventh, does that mean anything else? The morrow after the seventh Sabbath? I don't know.
No, it doesn't.
Well,
Any other questions or comments? Anything else on this week that we're looking at right here? Every week we have an unleavened bread in the spring, and we go to the feast. We're commanded 3 times a year to go. Why? Because unleavened bread, Passover unleavened bread, Shavuot, and Sukkot, tabernacles, indwelling, in gathering, is our particular first fruits callings. It's an honor to go to those 3. It's important. You can't stay home. The reason you can't stay home is that in, I think it's Exodus 34, and I know Deuteronomy 16:16, commands us to go somewhere, to pilgrimage. And one of the main reasons that Yahweh Shua commands us to do that is to get a sense of community. We talked about this afternoon, to get a sense of community. When Moshe was commanded to bring Israel, 1.6 million people out of Egypt, they became a people that were not a people before. And they had community. They had to live together, work out their problems, do work details, accomplish what was necessary for the survival of the group and the direction of the group to be obedient unto the pillar of fire and the pillar of smoke and the direction that we're given. Major undertaking. A sense of community. We don't get along with someone, we have an argument with someone, or we have a division within the group, or a division between 2 families or individuals. We do not have the option. The elder will tell you this, to get up and leave. We have to work it out. As James said, we are the body of Messiah. We are bonded together with a common cause which is eternal, and we don't have the option to walk out the door and say, I don't want to talk to you. I don't like you anymore. Or I don't get along with you. That's not an option. When you don't come to those 3 feasts, you don't get the sense of community and living with others that you have to get along with and work through those difficulties, work with love, work with bonding, work with Torah, with each other. And work for the good of the feast and give Chris some help. She has tears in her eyes.
No, I don't. I'm very thankful for all the help that I get.
Yes, and it was wonderful. All right, that concludes the presentation about the wave sheaf, how to count Pentecost. And the wave sheaf started way back with first fruits, and the wave sheaf is equivalent to first fruits, if I didn't say that. It started back with the first that came, were firstborn. They were all belonged to Yahweh. You had to redeem them with a shekel price, or else break their necks. Then it said, no, I'm going to take the Levites now. He's moving forward. And then we see Messiah in the Brit, and now we at his coming. And that's the progression of first fruits. And it's based on the wave sheaf, and it's based Yahshua. It's all his work and marvelous in his eyes. We have a wonderful calling. It's beyond our comprehension. And I know sometimes we feel like quitting, going away. But Peter said to Yeshua, where shall we go? You have the words of eternal life. There's no place else to go. There really isn't. we know there's no other option. Okay, basically that's the presentation. Any questions right here, then we'll go to the internet.
What was that, scripture verse in Numbers you gave early on? 3:5.
Number 3:12.
3:12. Back to 3:12.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, how about the internet?
Yeah.
Brother Tom Shedke made a point that it says corn as we know it cannot be scriptural because corn is a new world grain.
Mm-hmm.
And he was referencing the Feast of Tabernacles as being really grain.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's actually true. Thank you, Tom. Nice to see you. We miss you. When you look at the word corn, in fact, that came to me this afternoon when we were over at the picnic. When you look at the word corn, it's not corn. It says grain, I think is what it says. Yes, that's a good point. Yeah, I use that as the word basically right out of the scripture, but it's not the word corn. That's true. Anything else? Eric?
Just for clarity's sake, again, back in 1611, corn meant something different than what we use corn for today. The English language is evolving.
Mm-hmm.
So what we call corn today is not what they called corn back in 1611. I think it was more like what we call wheat today. But it's still.
It's a grain. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for your attention. This day that we just passed, we're in the last day now, the very last day, 7th day of unleavened bread. And we have been accepted by the Father and set free. Hallelujah.